Hi everyone, let's talk about Clans of Caledonia. Now, as I said at the start of the playthrough, this is on Kickstarter right now, so I'll give you another chance to click on the link so you can have a look at the campaign and check out and see if you'd like to back it. As I said, it's a prototype, so everything you saw in the playthrough, everything you see here is still prototype components, although really it's everything has got the look and feel of the final copy of the game. It's looking very nice. So, what did I think of the game? Well, another thing to mention. I'll finish mentioning things, I promise. I've only had the game for a few days because it was a very last minute thing, and the Kickstarter, well, it starts today. But yeah, so I've only played it 3 times. Once solo, no, twice solo, and once with Rachel for 2-player, and I've really been enjoying it. It reminds me of things from a few different games, but not in a negative way. It doesn't really feel like any of those games. It feels like its own thing, definitely. But it's got elements of Terra Mystica in it, which I'm sure anyone who's seen the playthrough will have recognised these things. I am not the person to be comparing and contrasting Terra Mystica because I played it once nearly 2 years ago, so I don't remember a lot of the things about it, but certainly the expanding across the map, the player board, where as you put certain upgrades out, it unlocks different powers on your player board. Things like that. I remember anyway. There may be more, but yeah, all of those things work really well here, and it's really simple as well. The same thing that I loved in Scythe, when you're taking things off your player board and revealing new powers or reducing costs or things. Everything that you do in the production phase is spelled out for you on your player board. As you take the things off here, I don't know if you can see any of that on the screen there, but you can see it in the playthrough. Anytime you take anything off your player board, you just reveal more and more things that you're making. You reveal that you're making more wool, you're making more milk. The processing is easy as well. You decide that at the same time over whether you're going to turn wheat into whiskey or bread, or you're going to turn milk into cheese. The money that you make is very easily pointed out. These are really nice as well. The upgrades for your people point at the arrow that you're supposed to be looking at for how much money they make. I realise that I don't tilt things at the camera properly while I'm supposed to be. So yeah, it's a really nice system. The upgrades as well. Oh, the naval reach as well. That's something that's in Terra Mystica, isn't it? Yeah, the naval reach is a really nice way of expanding across the map and being allowed to use these port bonuses that are all very nice as well. There's a lot of things like the port bonuses that will make the games very different as well. They will drive people towards certain areas of the map based on their strategy. As well as the export contracts aren't insanely different. Obviously, there's only so many goods in the game and there's only so many powers that they can give you. But they're a bit of a guide. The scoring tiles are a fantastic thing. They remind me of something like Isle of Skye, where that's got fewer of the scoring tiles, but you see the entire game's scoring mechanism basically from the start of the game, and you can plan however far in advance you want to. You can just be working from round to round trying to maximize how much you've got right there, or you can have a look at what the round 4 and 5 bonuses are, and right from the beginning of the game be working towards those, so you will get a huge boost towards those later rounds, because some of these that came out, like 3 points for every 2 hexes that you control along the border, that came out in round 2, so you can't really make that much of it. But if that came out in round 5, then you could really try and make it so that you owned a huge chunk of the border and got an enormous payout from this. But as well as thinking of score, this really drives the game as well. This came out early in our 2-player game, and it's, rather than trying to go towards each other and get neighbouring bonuses, that's something that's not in the solo game that I didn't mention. If you expand and you end up next to another player's hex, then if that hex produces something, you can buy a certain amount of that thing for cheaper than you would normally be allowed to. So, normally you might want to be building around each other, but when this was out, it was just a mad dash to try and get as many spaces around the edge of the board as possible, and we kind of were apart from each other because of that. But the big points that you can get from these can't be ignored. So they're not only a great thing of guiding your strategy in the game, but they are also going to be a big part of making the games feel different as well, because there are, I can't remember how many, I think there's 8 of these and you use 5, and the order, as I mentioned, will change how the game plays based on the way that those come out. The clans that come out really change it up. You know, they have some really crazy powers, like the one that Rachel had in the 2-player game was a power that after we finished production, she could sell as much milk as she wanted for £8 each, and nothing happened on this board to the price of milk. That's the maximum price milk could be. She just didn't need any merchants or anything to do it. You can just do it as much as you want. So it's really nice that, as well as telling you what the power of the clan is, it's got a little thing in the rulebook telling you, giving you a little bit of strategy advice, like the one for my clan steward, where I get an extra £1 whenever I use the market board. The strategy there that I don't think I did very well is just constantly be making little transactions on the board so that you are maximizing your free money. You know, every time you do it, you get more, and you want to buy more merchants as well so you can keep doing it. There's a clan that can't upgrade their lumberjacks or miners, but they can have fishermen as well that they can put in the lock spaces where nobody else can go, and also move them a space as well. So not only are you getting more territory than anyone else can get, by moving these around in the locks as well, you're getting access to more of the board by spreading out further. But also, by being able to move them a space, you can separate them into separate settlements. So you're going to have a big advantage on the settlements there. And that's just a few that we've seen so far. They'll really change it up. The port bonuses, there's more than you need of these, and they're different every time and in different places. The scoring things are different every game and in different positions. There's just a lot to really change it up, and I think that's a really great thing. And surely you could put more clans and things in there. So let's talk about the solo game specifically. So there aren't that many rule changes, which is nice, because once you have learned how to play one mode, then the other one is pretty much set up for you. You don't need to do much different. The dice are a nice way of simulating market changes, as if there were other players there. Although they don't change it that much, but I suppose they could. If you just kept rolling the same good, then they can really affect it. I think they did drive things. They drove things right down, didn't they? Yeah, there was a point where they drove all the processed goods down, and that really helped me. But I suppose it could really hinder you at the same time, and it can make it risky as well. Where I was thinking in the early rounds, should I just keep taking more contracts? Like, maybe I can do this one. Well, if I had done that and risked it, and I needed a load of bread, but I've worked out that I can afford all of this bread, and then you roll these and the bread is going up this round, it can make speculating on the export tiles a bit riskier, which is good. So you'd want to wait. It's going to cost you more to get the tile next round, but you're going to have information on what you're going to be able to buy and sell. And you don't have to be worrying as much about buying and selling as I was in that playthrough. You can make your own stuff. Like in the 2-player game we played, certainly, I was really trying to produce a lot of stuff rather than buying anything from the market board. The market board didn't move very much in our 2-player game because we were desperately trying to produce as much stuff as possible. But I'm veering off the solo game again. The dummy player, really nice. It's tightening up space on the board. It's removing all of the cheap spaces. Everything that cost 1 is gone in the solo game. You don't get any neighbouring bonus, but that's okay, because nobody can get any neighbouring bonus from you, because there isn't the dummy player isn't doing anything. It's just blocking off space. And the way it blocks off the space is very nice as well, because I imagine it will be different as the map changes. But it's not just blocking off those cheap spaces, it's also blocking off some nice points where I could have made the settlements meet or created another settlement. They're right in the way just because of how those 1 hexes happen to be positioned. You would be able to just skip across a really cheap space and be able to link up more settlements and make up more, but because they're in the way, they're not an annoyance, but it is an extra little wrinkle that you have to think about when you're trying to plan out your little empire here. The extra scoring at the end for the solo game is really nice as well, because Well, it's nice in the two-player game as well. I mentioned at the end of the playthrough that, say, number of contracts that you fulfilled in a 3 or 4-player game, person who did the most gets 12, person who did the second most gets 6, everybody else gets nothing. In a 2-player game, person who did the most gets 8, the other person gets nothing. That's really nice in a 2-player game, because if it was the same, 12 and 6, there's not as much incentive, whereas it's, you know, an 8-point lead if you do it in the 2-player game. Even better in the solo game is the system of, well, how many did you do? This is how many points you can get. Like, I got the maximum points for the number of contracts that I could do in the playthrough, but on the other hand, I got no bonus whatsoever for settlement scoring because I obviously overemphasized one side over the other. Although I got quite a nice score, so I'm happy with that. It's a better score than I expected. And that brings me to another point. I mentioned that I've only had a few games with this. Sorry if I've made some huge mistakes on there. I'll hopefully have noted them up before, you know, they get spread out too far. But I think that's everything that I need to say about Clans of Caledonia. I really, really enjoy it. As I said, there's a lot of variability to the game. The system, while at first it seems like there's a lot to be processing, there really isn't. Everything you need to know is on this player aid about the turn structure and everything that you can do on your turn, all the actions that you can take. You know, the score pad is a really nice, it spells everything out for you. And I noticed that I'd forgotten all about this, that there are a load of things on the back of the player boards that you're not using to remind you about how much everything's worth at the end of the game, the majorities for contracts and settlements, and even the solo game. I didn't need to be referring to the book. There are extra things just for the solo game on the back of the player boards. So I can't remember what point I was making when I brought up player boards, but, you know, really, really nice little innovations. And, you know, the game design is great. Jim has done a great job on the design. The artwork, beautiful. It's Clemens Franz. And you can't see it up here, but there is, you know, probably half a shelf of just Clemens Franz's things on a lot of Uwe Rosenberg games and things. He does really, really lovely art, as you'll have seen in the playthrough on the clan tiles and everything. Just lovely, lovely, lovely. And yeah, check it out. Check the playthrough out, check the Kickstarter page out, and see if it's something you'd like to back. I really enjoy it myself. It's Clans of Caledonia. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye.